Hello and welcome to Walking and Talking, the show where I walk and talk. There's a hummingbird. My immediate sensation that I notice is feeling pretty comfortable in my body. The temperature is very comfortable. There's no aches or pains or soreness. And I feel pretty grateful for that.
There's water down there?
Also, this environment in terms of sensory input feels just right to me. It's not overstimulating. I mean, at the moment there's some people around, which tends to be a little bit distracting, but that's all right for the time being. It's not too bright. I feel some sort of, again, some kind of sense of relief to be doing this. Because when I'm doing this, I have some sense that there's an important communication going on, or at the very least an ability for me to communicate as clearly as I can. The opportunity for me to try to communicate as clearly as I can. There's this long pause that you have probably noticed, and when I returned from the pause, my mind went to the thought of just describing my mental process of not knowing what to say, and then to start describing the process of just jumping into saying anything. And then it returned to a familiar thought that I often, I think, articulate after a short pause in talking, and then I felt uncomfortable with the familiarity of that thought. The repetitiousness of it. And this whole train of thought is something that's definitely come up before. this whole nature of this this whole theme of feeling a little embarrassed of thinking thoughts that I've thought before. Because I'd prefer to feel like I'm involved in a more generative and creative process of thinking. But I recognize that this is part of getting started, and there's always, you know, some surface stuff that I have to dig through for a little while. Because once I turn the camera on and start recording my thoughts, recording my talking at least, in which I'm trying to articulate as much of the thoughts that I can. Once I turn the camera on and then start talking more or less continuously, then that observation on my thought process starts to dig in and I guess dig deeper over time, you could say. And yeah, just now I was starting to think about how thinking in this context differs from thinking in my normal life. And then I wondered whether I should include that thought in my speaking, if I wanted to actualize that thought into this, or just if I wanted to introduce that into this, just because of the reference to this outside time, the outside time of when I'm not walking and talking, and talking about thinking while I'm not walking and talking. But it's introduced nonetheless. And so my question now is that directing my attention away from what's going on right now? You know, it is a thought that I had, and so speaking it is evidence of witnessing that thought. And maybe as we go along, the object of the witnessing will become more directly referent to what's happening right now, as opposed to any ideas about what happened or will happen or happens in other time. I'm physically walking uphill, and I think this act this experience of walking uphill seems to color my whole experience to some extent. Well, I mean, at least at least my bodily experience is experiencing this exertion, this mild exertion. And so I have the thought process going on while physically feeling, like work being accomplished, physical. And I think oftentimes it's easy for me to not be able to distinguish between those two experiences. What physical sensations I'm having and the quality of the thoughts that I'm having, and to notice the link between the two. And I wonder if there's this tendency towards, if I'm feeling physical discomfort in some way, to then link that with the thoughts that I'm having, or for it to affect the type of thoughts that I'm having, whether I'm going to be, it might influence me towards thinking like what I could call uncomfortable thoughts. I'm not sure. Because I'm thinking about uncomfortable thought as in like some negative thought or negative interpretation of reality. And I think I'm wondering, does that happen? Does that still happen if I'm feeling pleasurable sensations? I think feeling pleasurable sensations tends to maybe somehow block out negative thought. or I tend to not have as many negative thoughts and tend to have more positive thoughts when experiencing pleasure. But at the same time, I often feel discomfort around pleasure, or embedded in pleasure there's a kind of discomfort, because I know that pleasure is always temporary, and then there's some kind of knowledge that it's going to disappear. Well, it's going to go away, and that I will in the future experience unpleasurable sensations. And so maybe I have this kind of notion that to the extent that I do enjoy pleasure, then I will suffer from displeasure to the same extent. Like if my whole identity seems to be wrapped up in the pleasure, as in like this is pleasure, and it's affecting all of me, including whatever witnessing capacity that I have, then I fear that later on that I will be completely wrapped up in displeasure to the same amount, you know, like this. If I'm not able to have a witnessing self that can witness my body and my mind with some level of detachment, then that could be a problem when things aren't so pleasant. But if I, have some kind of witnessing self that witnesses myself experiencing pleasure, and it goes even higher than just physical sensation, but like even deeper things like happiness or joy, like to be able to witness the experience of joy with some kind of detachment, then I would imagine that also contributes towards the conditions wherein I could also witness myself experiencing misery with some amount of detachment, and knowing that knowing that it's going to pass. And it seems like it's helpful to have that perspective. I feel some amount of displeasure in relationship to the quality of what I'm saying, because I am noticing my kind of slow and halting rate of speech and judging that a little bit negatively. And then, then I'm thinking about acceptance, like I have to accept that. Well, that's in the past now. So, of course I have to accept it because I can't change the past. And then, so how do I move forward without this judgment of the past affecting the present in a disadvantageous way? Is the judgment an advantage? In some sense it is, because it will lead me towards putting some effort into speaking more smoothly and maybe a little faster. So that's fine. I seem to be now doing that. I'm putting a little bit more effort into speaking a little more fluidly. Hopefully. I'm trying. And as I do that, I notice myself continue to walk. I'm walking on relatively flat ground now, as opposed to going uphill. And so maybe I can correlate my process of talking with that, meaning that I'll just propel it forward at a pretty even rate without too much difficulty. Just trying to keep letting words come out without stopping to judge them too much. Seems to be what I seem to be doing now. And that seems interesting because now I can remember back a few minutes ago when I was thinking a lot more before saying anything and trying to think hard about what I'm saying. And now I'm just talking without thinking so much. But I as I say that, I can kind of observe some thoughts happening in my mind before they come out of my mouth, but not as much, or the lag is much shorter. I wonder, just now the thought popped into my head of like this very common thought of what is the value of this? And so while I was saying that, while I was describing that thought to you, the next thought that came to my mind, that existed in my mind while I was talking about questioning the value of what I'm doing here, was just the thought to keep going without questioning that, especially now in the knowledge of how many of these I have done, and the question of value not being a problem, really. It's not a problem. It doesn't hinder me from doing these. It doesn't stop them from existing. Whether there's any value here or not, there's plenty of time afterwards to determine that, I don't have to devote mental resources towards that question right now if I don't want to. But it's also fine if I do. But in the meantime, what's more important is really to just continue talking. Even right now, when I say something like, you know, just continue talking, and then I don't have anything to follow that with, but I end up just following it with a statement that is basically means nothing. And even the one that followed that, you know, it doesn't have any content to it, really. I mean, all it is like this continuing reference to a train of thought that's pretty empty, that feels pretty empty at this point, but in some way is successful at being so reflexive that it's not referring to anything in the outside world, and I take some kind of enjoyment in that. Some kind of enjoyment in continuing to talk in a way that isn't directing my mind or your mind towards any abstract object of thought. But like, still, there's language here, the English language, and it's making sense in you know, syntax is relatively correct, and it's plenty understandable. It's plenty understandable, but like, you realize that there's nothing important to understand. But you might be able to just observe even the process of understanding language a little more clearly in this context, when this process of understanding language is not then sprouting up so many external images or concepts other than ones about language itself, and more specifically about this specific language that's being communicated. And also it's also referring directly to this process of understanding. And so then we can kind of question, well, what is that process of understanding? What's going on here? And what is like the experience of understanding language like when there's nothing important to understand about it, or there's no important knowledge, you know? It's like I don't know, maybe it could be considered as a form of knowledge, but it keeps going and going, and it's not like I'm formulating any solid idea here. It's not like I'm going to complete a thought and then you're going to have a complete idea to take away from it and contemplate. Like, you know, so far I've been talking for half an hour exactly. And if you think about it, there's nothing to take away from this. Like if you were to ask, like, what have I learned in this half hour? There's probably nothing you could really point to, but it's possible that maybe your attention has been directed in a direction that hasn't been before, or that it's rarely directed, or something like that. That's possible. But, you know, when I have a pause like that, then like there's no reason to pause, because then my mind is continuing to go, but I'm not speaking, and I'm not necessarily communicating to you. But now I'm back and communicating with you, about communication, kind of trying to keep communicating without communicating something exactly. You know, just like the value of communication in our experience as being a person. It's really important. And for me, for some reason, this mode of communication seems important. But maybe, you know, do I communicate like this in normal life? Here I am thinking again abstractly about normal life. It never feels like I'm able to communicate 100% fully, because it almost seems like it would be as if you want someone to understand you so completely that it's like they almost merge with you and become you, and the desire would be like to have everybody become you, which you know, if that happened, then you wouldn't have anybody to communicate with, because there wouldn't be anyone else, there'd just be you. It's like we gotta maintain some differentiation. we got to differentiate ourselves from the world in order to have something to interact with. Otherwise, there is no interaction. But even the interaction itself being the link I'm so distracted by other people. I can't think when there's other people around. It feels horrible. I like really need to get away from other people. And then again, this problem is coming up where I'm thinking things that I've definitely thought before, and I start saying a thought and then realizing that I think I've expressed this thought in the past, but in a much more clear way. And so it feels like just kind of rehashing something in an unfresh way. And now I'm kind of noticing myself reacting a little bit negatively towards being around other people and human activity around me. And so I'll try to remove myself from this situation, but try to accept it to the extent for the time being while I'm here. And I'm also again feeling this like, what the fuck am I doing? Feeling of like, this is the dumbest shit that I'm doing. And I seem to always experience that in walking and talking. Most of the time I have some experience, and man, but I keep doing it. I keep doing this even though I continue even though almost every time I feel really embarrassed to be doing it. At least for some of the time. We'll get over this. I just feel, you know, like I can't do this like around other people. While I'm doing this around other people, I just feel horrible. I just feel like this huge dissonance, a huge dissonance between what I'm doing and I suppose what I imagine to be a normal thing to do for a person, especially in this particular location. And judged myself as some very abnormal person. And there's many times when I just wish that I were like a normal person, but then I wonder if that thought is in itself kind of narcissistic. So like for me to assume that everybody else has some kind of experience similar to the ones that I describe sometimes. Well, I mean, I've spent a lot of time describing experiences, so there's bound to be overlap with other people's experience, especially if I'm trying to describe just very fundamental experiences of that, you know, focused around just consciousness itself, and then radiating out from consciousness the experience of being human, having a body, having thoughts, having some kind of social self-representation. Those are pretty common to those are common to all people. So I imagine it's not insane to think that other people maybe experience many of the types of experiences that I have and describe. And so is it important to describe them if everybody has them? I mean, yes and no. In the sense that communication is valuable and can alleviate some of our feeling alone in the world, then maybe there's some value here in that sense. Lots of thoughts. I feel just so agitated by the human activity, and I probably wouldn't be if I weren't doing this. Or not as much anyway. I think it's like, you know, I have the immediate experience of being alone, of you know, this kind of like one-way communication. Is it easier or harder than actual dialogue? I'm not sure. I feel this really, really strong desire for, like, you know, just normal communication. So what's my fucking problem? Why don't I just fucking do that? Just actually talk to somebody. I don't know, because I'm getting like really perturbed here. And I feel, yeah, I actually feel, I feel kind of painfully alone. I think I maybe feel more painfully alone right now in the proximity of other people who seem so not alone. So maybe if I can just get away from everybody, then I won't have anybody else to compare myself to. And so I'll feel less alone. Continuing to judge this episode of Walking and Talking pretty negatively at the moment. I mean, there was a time when I wasn't earlier already. There were some times when I wasn't really experiencing judgments. I feel fairly confused, like as if there are a lot of competing thoughts and disparate thoughts, disparate trains of thought. That I'm jumping between, like going from, you know, at one point just being very focused on talking and feeling successful at being able to talk without any external object of the talking, just talking about the talking itself in a way that seemed like somewhat illuminating of the nature of communication, or potentially so. And then getting kind of sidetracked from that and describing a lot of uncomfortable feelings of being perturbed by human activity around me. And then starting to kind of complain about the feeling alone. But I'm noticing now, here I am still talking, and on some level having some kind of acceptance even of this perturbation. Is that a word? some level of acceptance of of having these uncomfortable feelings and expressing them, and making them public even. And I think that acceptance stems from some brief realization that still I'm walking and talking, and all of these things are still experiences within walking and talking, and I'm describing them, and I'm continuing to describe my experience, and that's all the criteria there is for walking and talking. And so in some ways it's as if I'm continuing to do the job, it's almost as if the job of walking and talking is to just doubt a lot, keep doubting a lot. Now it's relatively quiet, and that definitely has a soothing effect on my experience. It still feels difficult. It feels difficult to keep talking to you. It still feels embarrassing, very embarrassing. Because at each moment I'm like having this experience of like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm unsure of any system of evaluating what I'm doing, and any conventional system of valuation for media, I think would rank like off the charts bad. But you know, and now my mind is racing to come up with some alternate system of valuation where this ranks high on. But then as I start to notice myself doing that, I'm like, why do I need to be spending time coming up with some structure of value that where what I'm doing ranks high? Like, what's the point of that? What's the point really of like what's the point of building up this like conceptual structure that will boost my self-esteem and like create a more solid concept of what I'm doing, and by extension who I am, and the worth of what I'm doing, and by extension the worth of me as a person. I guess that's what I tend to be doing throughout my life. Holding on to a solid, creating a narrative of who I am and why I'm important. And like, I'm always like, editing that narrative. To try and prevent this experience of real emptiness, which is really uncomfortable. But I guess I'm trying to let myself stay in the emptiness and get comfortable with it. But here I am, this thing that I just described as myself doing, that's basically what I'm doing is creating that conceptual structure in which to evaluate this activity positively. And it's in itself is empty. Like what is this emptiness that I'm talking about? Like, what does that even mean? And what does it mean for me to go into emptiness and exist in emptiness? Like, it doesn't follow conventional logic, because where physically is the emptiness, and how would I go into it? I'm not going into space or something like that. But I guess it's kind of a metaphor. But it seems like a real experience to me, emptiness. And it seems to be the thing that underlies all negative experiences. And maybe even all positive experiences. But I guess what I associate positive experiences more like an experience of form, of coming back into the world in some way that feels real, I guess. But it also, also any positive experience, like if I'm coming back into the world in a way that feels real and feels like form, like the experience of having form, it also kind of feels like, to some extent, that's all unstable. I'm never it's like, you know, I'm never like really stable as a person, you know. I'm always aging. I'm always getting closer towards death. And I'm always have to be exerting effort towards maintaining equilibrium, be it bodily or mental, emotional, whatever. You know, it's like you start to get hungry, you gotta eat. But then once you're eating, you can't eat too much. And you gotta stop eating. And then you gotta not eat for a while. Then after a while you gotta eat. And then you gotta not eat for a while. And then you gotta sleep for a while. And then you gotta wake up and be awake for a while. Then you gotta sleep for a while. Then you gotta drink some water. And then you gotta stop drinking water. And then you gotta pee. And then you gotta work. And then you gotta work for a while, and then you get really tired from work, and you gotta rest for a while. But then, you know, you can't rest forever because your life will fall apart, and also just like it doesn't feel good, and so you gotta work some more. These are all pretty fundamental human experiences. Man, it's just like, also, you know, what's the point of communicating at all? Like, you know all this stuff. Everybody knows all this, right? What's the point of like me here, my face on YouTube, my furrowed brow, what the hell am I doing here? Is this work? Or is this a waste of time and resources? Am I continuing to waste time and resources by questioning whether I'm wasting time and resources? What if I, you know, was actually talking about something valuable? What if I was actually giving you some valuable information? Well, it's not like if I were giving you valuable information, or information that's like confirmed valuable, it probably means that information already exists in the world in some form or another. And in that sense, it's not really valuable for me to repeat it. Except to the extent that maybe I am transferring it or synthesizing it or communicating it into a specific realm where it's needed. Or maybe this is my form of synthesizing information. I don't feel clear right now, I can say that. I'm walking slightly uphill. I'm unfurrowing my brow. And then I'm wondering, shouldn't I be maintaining a positive attitude and expressing warm, engaging emotions? That's what I think I should be doing if I think about media. And I think I should be articulately conveying well thought out ideas. But I'm not doing any of that. Just something completely useless. I don't know, actually, it's not even completely useless. It's not completely useless because people have remarked that they find walking and talking useful. As some kind of like as some form of like communication of the experience of being and thinking, I think. Of communicating some quality of existence that isn't commonly communicated, or something like that. And maybe also just serving as some kind of like model of the way thoughts move along and change, and the way emotions move along and change. So here I am explaining to you the value, or one potential value, of walking and talking. But value does point. I can't, even if there's one person around, I can't fucking think. God damn it. And then, now I'm like having this painful look at myself of like kind of experiencing myself as this image of myself as kind of this wretched curmudgeon who can't even tolerate the presence of another human being. So I'm trying to like reassure myself that that's not what I am like all the time. because I seem to, why do I even have a problem with that? I seem to value sociability, apparently. I feel like horribly self-conscious in the eyes of any like IRL person here, but then somehow I don't feel so self-conscious in the eyes of you, the YouTube viewer. What the fuck is going on? What the hell is my problem? And then, you know, the further that I, the further that I become frustrated and exacerbated with myself, here I'm like, you know, having continuing negative judgments, and then like escalating reactions, escalating emotional reaction to myself, to witnessing myself, and to these concepts of what I'm like, and these judgments of what I'm like. And then it's like a snowball, because each negative reaction that I have towards myself, then I have another reaction towards that reaction, you know. And I think I'm insane for having this negative reaction, and like having this like facing this very real seeming question that maybe I really am really fucking insane, like really fucking abnormal. And you know, of course that's an evaluation made in comparison towards what I imagine the normal to be, the acceptable to be. I see all these other people walking around and realize that every single person has the same type of interiority. You know, not necessarily that they're thinking anything like me, maybe, sometimes, but at the very least, like, all these other people also have a subjectivity as to you. And then, like, even when I say that, like, ooh, garter snake. There's a garter snake looking at the lizard. Holy shit. That's the most beautiful snake. Is it trying to eat the lizard? The lizard's looking back at it. this kind of seems like a good excuse to just like maybe just like knock off this whole like self critical process for a while, you know. Or not just like look at some reptiles for a while. Reptiles don't have this self-hatred. Whoa, shit. I disturbed everything. Bye. And you know, it's obvious that these cycles happen within walking and talking. They're like especially accentuated in walking and talking because I put myself in this framework of this long period where I have to remain verbal and I have no verbal feedback. And I'm like communicating somewhat one-sidedly. But then I'm like still in the presence of some IRL people, and so like there's still this there's also this part of me that's like aware of my IRL presence and its impact on the subjectivities of the people around here, and just like that awareness in my mind of my impact on people on people around here feels like this reoccurring intrusion. And I'm aware of how weird it is how for somebody to see a guy walking around with a wooden stick with a camera rubber banded to it, just talking into it continuously, and kind of how that might be kind of disturbing to see, because nobody in real life, well, they can't hear but a very brief snippet of what I might be talking about, but just like the image of this could be a little disturbing, I would think, of like a guy just filming himself talking to the camera. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing with his life? You know, like that's what I would ask. It's a weird world, you know. Like if I saw somebody like me, I would take it as this very weird sign of the times. And I would be like, that guy's... I'd probably feel bad for that guy. Like, what is this guy doing talking to a camera? Like, can't he just A, find some real friends, or B, just like, you know, just take a walk by himself like normal people do. Instead of, you know, needing to make this narcissistic representation of himself, you know, filming himself. Like, what, you know, like, what is this need to be in the video, to make a video of oneself? I mean, and it is totally insane. And it's like, it's not, you know, it's not narcissism. It's like, it's not totally apart from this desire. It's not something totally different from this desire for fame. Like, it's not that. And like, and then at the same time, it's like, it's maybe also like a narcissistic idea to like project some kind of image of authenticity, an ideal of authenticity, by not preparing anything, an ideal of autonomy by not doing anything valuable, or at least not doing anything that falls into any existing category of value. And it's probably you could say that it's like pathologically individualistic. You could definitely say that. It's like the only kind of scope of consideration where this activity seems okay is like a world that's even beyond beyond human life as inherently valuable, as in like As in, I feel like I'm kind of like, in some way, like resisting everything that we take to be valuable in human life. Maybe that's not true. I'm certain that there are other ways to reframe this, in which this activity could be said to express some human values. I guess I better keep walking.
Ready? Get the fuck away from there! Just looking at the... Yeah.
Anytime I'm around an IRL person, I just feel completely insane. Well, I mean, while I'm walking and talking, that is. I can't reconcile at this point, like, how this could be valuable to you as a viewer. This seems like the worst video you could watch. I don't know, maybe you see it differently. Should I go up this really steep path? Why not? Let's go steeply uphill and see what it's like to keep talking when we're going steeply uphill. Will it be even harder? Am I missing some way of framing things positively, where if I just thought about things positively, then my experience would be much more positive? I'm almost like I don't know if I even care about having a positive experience. It's like I can't even really conceive of feeling positive right now, actually. Like the idea of feeling like happy feels like a very, very distant thing. And even as I like hear myself say that, I feel even more embarrassed of saying it. I feel like this idea that I might be totally insane, like, feels like crushingly real when I hear myself say that even the possibility of feeling happiness feels very removed and distant. but it's almost I think it's almost like exacerbated by this notion that maybe I'm fucking this up, you know? Maybe I'm creating this problem by thinking about things too negatively. That I could, if I just reframed my thought in a positive light, then I would have an increasing cycle of happiness and positivity. And like just like fantastic, joyful, perfect life full of love and companionship and overflowing goodwill towards others. Like this idea that I have in my mind that like what I should be like, that how my life should be going. And I feel like even increasingly terrible with this current experience, and I can't fucking get away from people. Jesus fucking Christ. I can't fucking stand being around people right now. So I don't think anybody will follow me on this path. I just want to like find one place where there's not people around. What the fuck is my problem? Jesus Christ. I'm such a curmudgeonly asshole. I'm so fucking insane and I can't fucking escape the view of these fucking people around. And I'm like increasingly hateful. This is just my own consciousness closing in on me. Like, how the fuck did I get to this goddamn place in my life where where I'm being fucking driven insane just by like there being other people present? What the fuck? Is that the problem? I'm the asshole here. I'm the fucking insane piece of shit. Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus fucking Christ, I'm gonna fucking lose it. I'm completely alone. God fucking damn it. But I can't actually get alone. And I can't seem to be alright with not being alone. I'm not sure if I'm even going to publish this video. It's like too insane. I feel too genuinely insane right now. All I want is to like not be exposed to normal, well-adjusted people. Because I can't fucking deal with my life. It's like there's people all around me, and they're all like perfectly happy. They all have friends, and they're enjoying company. And here I am, like, completely freaking out in my own isolated world. How could this possibly be reconciled? How could this video possibly come back from this? I gotta keep Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. I gotta get the fuck out of here. I can't believe I'm still filming this. Remember, man, some of past walking talkings were so lucid and clear, and like free from these turbulent emotions. It's just like I'm like doing this process of walking and talking that when I'm within it, I like really have zero affirmation that there's like any point to this whatsoever. And then especially when it's like when I feel this like psychological misery while I'm doing it, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, am I just like increasing the total amount of suffering in the world, is my question. That's my question. But like the process itself, I've kept doing apparently because somehow I thought that this would be good somehow, or that there was some reason to do this. I mean, I know I've experienced a lot of doubts while I do this, but this feels pretty intense, and well, it just feels real, you know. this feels like a very, very real, like, what the fuck am I doing with my life kind of moment. And yet here I am continuing in this and like not changing what I'm doing. Like I'm continuing to, like I haven't decided to stop the video yet, and like just go start repairing the damage that I've done to my life via walking and talking. But so there's apparently enough of a shred of will or a shred of like some shred of cognizance or some shred of awareness, maybe not even necessarily cognizance, maybe it's becoming cognizant now, that there may be something to sticking through this doubt and sticking with this experience even in the presence of like almost panic, and just being like, well, you know, this is this experience, to not completely identify with that panicked mode of thinking and all the doubt, and to act upon it. Having enough commitment to the framework to just, you know, complete the duration, as opposed to you know, following, being you know, following the framework, the structure, instead of following my emotional impulse. Which is to like immediately to, I guess what that would be to turn off the camera and like go meet up with my friends. Or like get on the computer and do something useful. Trying to fucking hide for a while here. Just hiding out. That's why I'm not walking, because like this is just one spot where I can relatively hide from people. There's a shred of awareness, you know, that knows that this experience will keep changing, and even now, some shred of awareness that's like you know, what piece of media like can like willingly include like a freak out, like a genuine like near panic attack, and just like stick with that and include it and allow it, and just kind of like see that as like just, you know, an actual part. It's like, you know, a legitimate part of experience, that we don't have to like banish from the record, and it might even have some function. There might even be some function to like allowing yourself to experience something like that, allowing yourself to I don't know yet. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe I might be completely wrong here. But to allow myself, at least, I'm not going to prescribe anything, because I really honestly don't know what's good for anybody else. But for me, it's like, you know, that is an emotional state that I just had a few minutes ago, and I'm not having it now. But my present experience is like, you know, connected with it, and I'm not like shutting it out as like being, you know, pathological exactly. At least I don't feel the need to at this moment. But when I was in it, I was rejecting it. I was like, I'm like rejecting my own experience because I'm judging it as pathological, and that actually contributed to it being more pathological. It was like in some way a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, like worrying, judging myself, and then immediately judging myself for judging myself, and then by starting to label my experience as like panicking or freaking out or something like that. It's like then it contains even a more intensely negative connotation, and then, you know, what follows from that is an increasingly negative judgment of myself as like being insane. But if I'm just like accepting all of that, even all of that cycle, if I can like even accept all of that as like being just like a legitimate way to experience reality, you know, it's like one legitimate experience. It's like now I can feel at peace. Rather than continuing to freak out, as it were. So I think, like, I don't know, for me, it just actually feels honest. It just feels honest to freak out sometimes. Or to allow myself to freak out, but in a way that's like not that's ideally not impacting others negatively, you know. Like, I guess I'm not trying to impose that disruption on anybody else's psyche, but in some ways maybe I should, you know, like to include it in this video, to like allow it to be part of this video. To rather than upholding a total composure, you know, like when I look around at people around me and everybody seems to be maintaining perfect composure, and I'm like, I'm fucking insane because I feel insane and everybody else looks completely sane. So maybe, you know, if I can include my insanity in this video, maybe I'll get some evidence whether like this resonates with anybody else's experience. If other people feel insane sometimes, do other people feel secretive and ashamed about feeling insane sometimes? Is it possible to actually connect and communicate further in a deeper way around this like subjective experience of insanity? And I don't mean like, I mean the subjective experience as in like, you know, like me, I feel to myself as if I'm going insane, rather than as a society we see a person on the street and deem them insane, and that person like may not have this subjective, that person, their subjective experience might be, I'm completely insane, everyone else around me is insane, you know. That kind of seems to be a real indicator of insanity. I mean, the insanity is like deeper when if you are insane and you believe that you're completely insane. Sorry. This is weird. Say if society deems a person insane and that person deems themselves completely sane. What the hell am I saying here? It's like, I mean, obviously that's an indicator that the person in question their map of reality is significantly different from the popular map of reality, from the predominant one. And sometimes that does seem to be pathological. Like in the sense of, in the case of like schizophrenia or something, paranoid schizophrenia, it's like a person does have a kind of subjective experience that just doesn't have any objective correlates. They're just experiencing a model of reality that like nobody else can see or experience, and it just like their way of interacting with that reality is going to like have some, it's going to, you know, there's just going to be discrepancies from the way that everyone else sees reality. And I guess with that, I guess I call that pathological because it doesn't ever resolve in the future. It's not like we haven't had the case where the schizophrenic is actually exonerated as being a visionary. But we do have many cases in which a person is deemed insane and is later exonerated as being a visionary. I guess some cases of that. But if you're having this subjective experience of like, I'm going crazy, then it is an indicator of some sanity and wherewithal to observe something about yourself that seems dysfunctional, or that seems, you know, just like aberrant from what you observe the rest of reality to be. So if you're making a judgment of some experience that you're having or some behavior that you're doing as being insane, then it means that you have some wherewithal to make a judgment about what would be sane and in comparison to that, and it means you have the capacity, you have at least some capacity to work towards changing that behavior. And then, you know, whether your judgments about what's sane and insane are objectively true or not is another question. Which, and they relate very much to societal norms, and I don't mean that in some disparaging way, that as if societal norms are our enemy. I don't think that they are. Not as a whole, like not in general. Certainly they need to keep evolving. And being revised as our world changes, as our subjectivities change. But here in walking and talking, I am allowing some space for what I might deem to be totally insane, allowing some space to exist in a way that should be, relatively benign to outside world and observed in a way that doesn't react too quickly to shy away from this experience. And to give time for these experiences to, I don't know, to be observed in a really thorough way. So that they're, you know, how sane or insane that they are can really be assessed in a way that's not too quick to judge, and ultimately, like, whether they're insane or sane might not be the most important question, you know. Might actually, you know, that might actually not be a useful categorization. Like we've seen already now, I can see the drastic change in my own emotional state, and my thinking state, like, feels a lot clearer now. Like, wouldn't you say? It takes time, though. It takes a lot of time. I mean, it's always changing. There's more calm here, and now and like, you know, in these past few minutes, when I was sitting over there, it's like a change happened where I went from feeling panicked to feeling really clear, or feeling really calm and thinking really clearly. It seems like, or it's, you know, at least my experience of thinking, like, if I were to judge my quality of thinking, then I would judge it as feeling relatively clear. Rational. So, like, judgments that we make about ourselves, it's almost like in the act of judging ourselves, there's some change happening. It's like an agent of change, maybe. even if see, I can tolerate the proximity of another human being now. See? It's always changing. Especially if you just like put yourself in the crucible, you know? Just put yourself in the full intensity of your experience. Without, you know, without dulling it. Without numbing it. Because then it like metabolizes itself faster. It's like, you know, let yourself freak out, you know? Allow yourself to freak out, and then, because that freak out is not going to last forever. But do it in a way, that's like, that's not going to have like outward rippling effects, you know? You don't freak out on the people that you love. Don't use other people as like, don't use other people as their release for these uncomfortable feelings. Because that's kind of a way, that is actually a way of avoiding experiencing them fully. It's like, if you can experience the uncomfortable feelings like in their full intensity, just on your own, but if you're like, if you're projecting that discomfort onto other people, or not even necessarily on other people, but like on the exterior world in some shape or form, like that's like, you know, my suffering is because of that person, etc. And then just like, you know, consider the fact that you may just be experiencing some of the pain of existence while being around other people, not necessarily because of them, you know? Like I was earlier so averse to being around people. I still, you know, see the importance of doing this activity in relative solitude, so that to avoid distractions. But also, you know, getting alone like that, and then realizing that you're still uncomfortable without the presence of anybody else. And just like allow yourself to fully experience the pain of that. It won't last forever. It exhausts itself. And then you can feel like an actual like relieving type of emptiness, a relieving type of emptiness of like tangled up emotions and intrusive like nagging thoughts. But, you know, it's not like we don't have to be like freaking out all the time. But, you know, just like figure out if, you know, when you have this like discomfort, just like trying to figure out a way to like freak out productively, you could say. But like as you witnessed in me freaking out, it's like it's nearly impossible to hold sight. Some critter over there. To you know, it's like it's nearly impossible to like continuously like be able to view your own freak out, your own self-doubt and such from a perspective in which you can see it as productive or see it as an actual legitimate aspect of reality of your own experience. Like for me, that perspective like just barely was like kind of just barely hanging on earlier, like which is kind of in this video, it's like represented by my willingness to keep filming myself, you know, my willingness to keep the camera on and keep recording this experience. It's like the camera is almost like a symbol of my own highest level of self-awareness, and that I'm willing to continue observing you know, states like various levels of like discomfort or pain or like you know, turbulence, storms, mental and emotional storms. And like, you know, like it almost got close where I was saying earlier that I wasn't sure if I was even gonna continue this video, and I was like, how can this video ever redeem itself? How could I bounce back from like freaking out this much and make some kind of sense of it all? And you know, it's just like it's just like it's like so such a dramatic change from like like an hour ago, maybe less than an hour ago, to now. But the same like, you know, whatever highest level of witnessing that I'm aware of has just like remained there. Oh, snake. What kind of snake is that? Whoa. That kind of looks like a rattlesnake, I'm not sure. I love snakes. Oh yeah, doesn't it look like a pit viper with its like wide head? Is this dangerous? Oh, it's totally a rattlesnake. Whoa. Whoa. Holy shit, I am thrilled. I'm ecstatic. This is my first time seeing a rattlesnake in the wild. And that just made my whole day. I'm so overjoyed. I remember what I was saying about feeling positive things like pleasure and happiness and joy and like some detachment. I'm just like, right now I'm just like so overjoyed having just seen that rattlesnake. And then I'm like, damn, is this joy gonna continue for the rest of the video? Because it's like I'm almost tempted to be like, all right, like video walking and talking is solved. Like that just made my day. And if I say that something makes my day, that implies that whatever else happens today is like completely fine, because I just saw a rattlesnake. So I guess that goes for the rest of the video. Like what if I had stopped filming this video, like just because I was freaking out earlier? Then I wouldn't have seen that rattlesnake, because I would have like probably gone home, or not home, but like back to the home base. I wouldn't have even seen the rattlesnake, much less got it on the video. And now I'm like waiting to see if it'll come back out from that rock. Maybe it would be wise to keep an eye out for other rattlesnakes so I don't like step on one. I don't see it now, but I'm gonna be unable to stop looking for rattlesnakes now. Gonna have to like peer under every little rock. See, that's the thing about pleasure. Then now I'm addicted. Now I'm addicted to the idea of finding rattlesnakes. And so I'm just gonna keep. It's gonna be. There's the potential of disappointment now if I don't see any more rattlesnakes. But so you have to be constantly vigilant to like not allow that attachment to like build up, you know? You have to be like, I just experienced that, and I have to continue to accept whatever I'm going to experience now. I mean, I can keep looking and like, you know, what the fuck is that? Holy shit. What the fuck is that thing? Now this thing's like kind of horrifying to me. What the hell is that? Some kind of larva. That's crazy. it looks, you know, I'm not like really afraid of the rattlesnake, but I'm kind of afraid of this thing. Now this thing, I'm like drawn to and repulsed by at the same time. It's like horrifying and beautiful. But the rattlesnake is like, whoa, oh, it's just a lizard. See, just a lizard now. You know, I was thrilled by seeing the lizard yesterday. Now I've seen enough of them that it's like, whatever, just another lizard. Now that I've seen the rattlesnake, I'm like, whatever, just another lizard. You know, it's the rarity of experience seems to indicate value. It's true that I am indulging a little bit in like fragmenting out my experiences and categorizing them. Like the rattlesnake, like I could definitely, if I had chosen to, let go of that experience like a long time ago, like right after having seen it. I could have maintained much more flat composure and just being like observed objectively a rattlesnake. Big whoop. Observed objectively. This is my first time seeing a rattlesnake in the wild. And so I am indulging in the pleasure of like continuing to talk about that experience and like letting the like I'm like really allowing the thrill of that to continue like resonating in my mental and emotional space. And I guess, I don't know, maybe it kind of feels like that I now have the mental and emotional space to let something like that resonate, in having cleared it out by letting myself freak out for a while, letting some of this like tension to like eat itself. By observing myself freak out, you know? Then you know, then there's this empty space where like I can really experience the joy of like spontaneous and unexpected little delights in the world. This marble. It's just like a lone marble sitting out here. A cat's eye marble. And I'm just like continuing to hang out in the vicinity of the rattlesnake for obvious reasons. Maybe this is cute in some way. I think snakes are cute. And I'm probably on some level aware of myself acting cute or something by displaying this infatuation with snakes. still hiding under the rock. But I'm not going to stick my hand in front of the hole, but I'm going to put the camera in front of the hole. I can't see what you see right now. I don't know if you can see the snake or if it went somewhere else. There's all sorts of rocks and crevices here that there could be snakes hanging out in. You know, I'm allowing like a characteristic of self to exist here. That is my professed love of reptiles. Lizard. And I could let that go, I think, if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I guess I'm like continuing to enjoy, appreciate that, like this aspect of identity. Like I feel perfectly aware that I would be capable of very rationally observing my emotional reaction to seeing a reptile and analyzing it very clearly and dispassionately. Maybe that is what I'm doing to some extent, but I just don't feel a need to dismantle this interest. And I'm fully aware that even if I do encounter another... There's a lizard. There's so many lizards. This one's doing his push-ups. It's working out. And then there's that one. And even if I do encounter another rattlesnake, will it be as exciting as the first time I encountered a rattlesnake? Maybe not. Obviously, the more of something you see, the less exciting it is, like sticks. But then there's this practice of trying to just prime your awareness of the world, your interest in the world, to keep it fresh, to be able to look at something that you've seen a million times before with the same level of excitement as something you haven't seen before. But so now I'm looking for snakes, and so my attention is really honed in on a certain search image, but at the same time it creates for a new kind of interest just in the ground that I'm walking on. So it could be said that my just interest in the ground has been renewed, and my interest in rocks. Oh, hey. There's so many lizards here, like, just as a general backdrop, it's really delightful. I don't get tired of seeing lizards. Or, like I said earlier, my day has been made. But is that because, I don't know, what is it, why? By having a distinctly new experience? Is that the first time I've yawned in walking and talking? I think it might actually be. That's a new experience. I can't remember ever yawning in walking and talking before. I don't think I'm feeling tired, actually. There's still significant time left. You know, there's an hour and a half of walking and talking, and then you know, this godsend of a rattlesnake occurred pretty much midway, and so, you know, what's left to this video? What's to become of this? What do we do with this experience, like, after something wonderful happens? You know, something comes into our life and then it goes out, and then all you have is a memory of it. All I have is a memory. But and it's like, it's really like, it really doesn't make sense to cling on to that memory, to like to be seeking out to like repeat it, you know, because it of course wouldn't be the same. The experience wouldn't be the same. would just be like less exciting. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't. Not if you maintain. Not if you maintain a like fresh type of awareness. It's like, but you can't go back. You can't go back to having the same experience. And so it's like, you know, what even is the point of like getting that excited about anything? Like for me, it was just like for fun, kind of. Like I was getting excited, knowing that I was getting excited, and that knowing that I didn't really have to get excited, but like choosing to get excited just for, you know, a little variety in my emotional topography, but like feeling also in somewhat control of that, and with some certain level of some witnessing presence that has some detachment from it. And so now I can kind of let go of that excitement without being consumed by melancholy. And you know, hopefully continue to remain receptive to like other little pleasures of my experience. Like I'm actually enjoying the way that I've been talking, I guess. It feels so unstrained now. Is that a word? Like even if there's gaps, it's not like I'm painfully grasping at the next thing to say. I might be formulating the next sentence in some of those gaps, but I don't feel worried about that. I don't feel painfully aware of that. I feel aware of myself, and I feel aware of my voice and the camera turned off for a moment, so I might have missed something. But like I was talking about how I can genuinely say that I feel happy right now, and that like everything I'm looking at looks beautiful to me. And like I was talking about how I'm standing on this precipice, and everything on either side of this precipice looks beautiful, and thinking of that as kind of a metaphor. And then I went on to say that I would not feel okay with jumping off this cliff right now. and so that seems like a certainly a socially sane thing to say. And like, yeah. And maybe I'm like taking some kind of mental comfort in my ability to say without feeling totally disingenuous, express thoughts and feelings that seem relatively in line with a socially normative notion of sanity. I'm like, hey, look at me. I fit in. I'm like, neurologically normative enough to fit within society's boundaries of sanity. And honestly, I am. And I think this video is like making this video is like some way to like kind of maybe like push the edge of that a little bit, push against the edge of that. Or actually, or maybe even to like to explore like within this socially, what the hell is that? There's like some weird wasp-like thing carrying a caterpillar, a dead-looking caterpillar. Like making a YouTube video of myself, this is like this is like socially sanctioned behavior, I'm allowed to do this. I'm allowed to film a 4-hour-long video of myself and post it on YouTube. That's incredibly permissive, We're living in an like that would be evidence towards saying that we live in an incredibly permissive society in certain ways. That I can film a 4-hour-long video of myself just talking to the camera about nothing, freaking out at times, and nothing bad is going to happen to me except getting some asshole comments on the thing. Like, that's a lot of freedom. Man, this place is beautiful. So like, I guess like within the boundaries of what our society allows, we can get away with a lot if we do it in the right way, If I like freak out in the grocery store, it might be like a different different story or something. But you know, that's not a context in which I would freak out. I'm freaking out because I put myself in this really weird context of talking for 4 hours straight. But then on the other hand, like what I'm seeing in this video especially is that even the types of internal experiences and then observable behaviors that we deem abnormal or problematic, like may actually have a very good function if they're carried out in a non-harmful way. I'm getting pretty far away from my home base. But I just can't help it. I feel like I could spend all day here. We still got, I think, like about an hour left, and we got an hour left, and I'm just like happy. Am I expressing happiness in the conventional emotional way? I'm not sure. Does the tone of my voice and the expression on my face express happiness? I'm not sure. It's like a low-level kind of happiness or something, or it's not like low-level. I guess it's for me, maybe it feels like a more stable kind of happiness than if I were like exuberantly emoting with my face and with my voice and body language. That wouldn't really feel so authentic to me. Like, this feels like a more authentic version of happiness for me. Low key, one might call it. can really see how I could be a hard person to deal with for other people. Because I don't really comfort myself, you know? I don't really comfort myself, and so I'm not really like a comforting person for other people. I don't know, maybe. Actually, maybe I am sometimes. I'm like a calming type of person, I think. But not a super like exuberant or super enthusiastic type of person. Like if I'm enthusiastic, it's kind of like it was with the snake, where it's like I'm just like kind of choosing to be enthusiastic kind of for fun, but I'm not like wholeheartedly identified with that enthusiasm. Except in rare, very rare moments. Exceedingly rare moments. But, yeah. But those are like unstable. Well, of course they are. But I'm not like a comforting type of person in that, like, you experience a negative emotion and I'm like, don't experience that negative emotion. Or like, and I'm not like, I won't be like, I'm not the type of person to be like, you shouldn't be experiencing that negative emotion. Or I'm not the type of person even to necessarily be like, to like talk you into a positive perspective or something. Maybe. I'm more like I support you having, I support you experiencing negative emotions in a way that's not in a way that's not compounding them or doing harm. I support you like experiencing negative emotions like really fully, with the awareness that they're gonna change and pass, and that there's a function to them. I mean, and it's not just like a function, it's just like that they are like some inherent aspect of your reality. And if you like, it's kind of like if you let them be, then like they'll take care of themselves. And then and maybe if you are able to experience them fully and without immediately acting on them, you may be able to to experience like this open feeling after they leave, you know? This openness that you wouldn't feel if you just ran away from them, or covered them up with something, or like had me comfort them away. Now this lizard is like more colorful than the other ones. Look at this guy. Yep. As much as I want to keep moving forward here, maybe I should start making my way back. It's a question of will my friend be willing to pick me up like wherever I end up? Like if I like end up like over at that golf course over there, like, and then I call my friend, hey, will you pick me up at this golf course that I ended up at? Whether he'll be like, sure, or like, that's kind of out of my way. I'm continuing to feel this feeling of openness and like kind of a freedom of like things I do in this video now are like okay, and like it's not like a an agonizingly hard decision, everything that I'm going to do. Here's a little ASMR for you. Where's the other side of the microphone? Is this thing in stereo? Like it seems kind of fun to me to just like kind of scowl at the camera for a little bit, like give the stink eye to the camera, to you, because you know that I don't mean it. I'm backtracking, which is less fun, but maybe I can figure out a way to make it fun.
Half of a pull-up is easier for.
Like whatever I'm gonna say now, I'm not too worried about it. Oh, it's just another lizard. Just another lizard. But I should keep talking at least. 'Cause you don't want to like, you don't want to get too lackadaisical and then just start slacking off on the job. Just because it starts to feel fun. I'm not even really doing anything fun. I'm just continuing to walk and talk. I'm not like jumping on anything or running around. Maybe once I finish this seltzer, I will. That looks fun. That, whatever that crow is doing, it looks like it's just doing it for fun. Look at that. What the that was just for fun. There was no purpose for that. You see that dive? That was totally a recreational dive. Are you having fun? You don't have to answer that. I won't burden you with you having to. I won't burden you with my own burden of entertaining you, if that makes any sense. I'm not going to burden myself with the responsibility of making sure you're having fun, and therefore you won't have to worry about me. You won't have to worry about whether I feel burdened for your entertainment. You can rest assured that I'm having fun myself, and then you can in empathetic response have fun yourself. Without having to feel any concern for me. But like, all that negativity, that had to happen, that had to kind of like happen in order to have this. They really are inextricable, I feel like. Like I'm pretty sure I wouldn't, I'm totally sure I wouldn't be having this experience exactly without having had this uncomfortable experience at the beginning. Very uncomfortable. It would be kind of fun though to like end up at that golf course and make my friend pick me up there. We're just chilling now, you know. I'm still like nominally doing the task of walking and talking. But we're doing it at a real like chill pace and attitude. Look at where we are, man. Look at where we are. Obviously, we have to be chill. I'm not gonna stress out about what to say next. This is like, remember when I was talking about like pleasure and happiness being like coming back into the world as a form that feels real or something like that? I guess I feel kind of like that, like feeling just like, you know, there's like the solidity of my body here, like here it is, like I'm not like transcendent consciousness like beyond my body exactly, although now that I mention it. But anyways, just feeling like here I am in a body and a self and even some identity, though like I haven't really been experiencing my identity so much now. Like now I'm just like talking. I'm just walking and talking like and chilling and not like I'm not like I don't feel like I'm mentally perpetuating my own identity in this like constrictive fashion. So like and so because of that I just feel comfortable. And you know, like when I started the very beginning I started and I said I was feeling comfortable. But now I feel more comfortable. Now I feel like an even deeper sense of comfort. even a sense that like all the pain and shit, like feeling like this confidence that I can handle all of that, even to the extent that it feels like I can't handle it. That to even have that experience of being like, I can't fucking handle this, means you're handling it. You're actually handling it. Even if it feels like you're not, even if it feels like you can't handle it, you're actually handling it. You're handling it fine. You're handling it like really the best if you have that full-on experience where it's like, I can't handle it. Like you're handling that. It means you're handling a lot, you know. And it's good to handle stuff. We should handle as much as we can in this world. It's like our duty in this world should not be to avoid having to handle shit. It should be to handle shit, you know? Who else is gonna handle shit? How about a slightly different perspective, visually? I mean, this place is like an amusement park or something. I feel interested in everything I see. Like any little like square meter or something would have so much interesting shit in it. Like what the hell? Like that's not even a real succulent. It's somebody's like hair thingy. But it's like it fits in the landscape. I'm amused by myself. Is this indulgent? You know, what if you maybe you really liked the suffering part? Well, and maybe this part is boring to you. Well, it's not that I don't care. I care about your experience, but go ahead go ahead and experience boredom, because what is boredom anyways? It's just like, all boredom is like, I think boredom is just like recalibrating your cognition to deal with a lower level of stimulus. And so like, that's the subjective experience of boredom. And if you go ahead and just like stick with that boredom and feel really bored and don't distract yourself, you're gonna be doing a really wonderful thing of recalibrating your cognition to be extra receptive, extra intuitive. You're gonna come out of it like with like extra abilities for feeling amused with the world. So I just like extol the virtues of actually feeling bored, because it's like a really valuable form of work. And it's not going to last forever. You won't be able to feel bored forever. You'll break through to something else. I know, I'm a hard person to deal with, but so are you. So are you. And it's okay. Let's go back and check on that rattlesnake. I'm a hard person to deal with because you're a hard person to deal with. What did I do with that marble? Here it is. We can put it back where it came from. Hey, that's a fat one. Fat lizard. Doing push-ups. We're just having like pointless fun now. Here's where it was. I don't see it anymore. Oh well. We're not like thinking hard about stuff. Or are we? No, we're not really thinking hard. There doesn't seem to be any reason to think hard right now. I can't think of any reason anyhow. Maybe if I think harder. So a little bit of humor there for you. See what a chill episode this turned out to be. It was like, you know, one of the most intensely bad ones for a moment, and now it's like really easy. Or at least that's the narrative arc that I'm choosing to validate the existence of. What are these things? I don't know. These round things. Another big rock there. If we see a big rock, then see if there's any snakes. Some kind of mint. Square stem. Opposite leaves. Am I working hard? It doesn't feel hard. If it doesn't feel hard, does that mean it's not good work? Or is it okay to like be in the flow of something and so that you're not experiencing suffering, but then it's like still somehow valuable in the world? I'd say so. I'd say that, you know, suffering doesn't necessarily equate to good work being done, I suppose. But often, I don't know, suffering is like kind of good in some ways. I kind of think suffering is like good somehow. But, you know, other episodes, I think we'll have lots of time to discuss that further. We can talk about that some other time. We can also just enjoy being in the flow. And just chilling. There's like a wet spot on the ground where somebody else who wasn't me took a piss, but very close to the spot where I took a piss. Oh, here's an actual quote. I actually like this quote a lot. It says, "I slept and I dreamed that life is all joy. I awoke and I saw that life is all service. I served and I saw that service is joy." Khalil Gibran. And I read that quote and I like almost started crying. I might actually shed a tear. It's more, it counts more if the tear actually falls. Like then you're really virtuous. I might not be that virtuous, but just virtuous enough that my eyes glazed over. Wait, that sounds bad, right? If your eyes glaze over, that's supposed to mean that you're uninterested. I just mean that there's like, is it still a tear if it's in your eye, or does it have to fall out of your eye before it's a tear? But whatever it is, like I got tear juice in my eyes. That happened after I read that quote. And then I was like, some like part of me was like rooting, like, yeah, tear, yeah, let the tear fall, yeah. Then you're doing some serious like virtue signaling. But you know, maybe next time. Back in this zone again. Back in like freak out land, geographically speaking. Man, I seriously could spend all day here. I'll like hold the stick down here while I go past these people so that I like looks mildly less conspicuous. I think I need to. It seems like everybody I see here is every man I see here. Actually, every person I see here is like so beautiful. Like, it seems like I need to I need to be a bodybuilder. Seems like I need to, yeah, seems like I need to become a total bodybuilder. I'm like some kind of like, I don't know, doing some kind of like mental emotional exercise instead. But not really, I'm just kind of, I've been chilling. I was for the first part, you know, walking uphill. Now, whoa. Now we're going downhill. We'll shift the camera from looking at my face to more POV. Getting my snakes dirty. What the hell is this? I'm still like what the hell am I? What the hell is this video? But I don't mind. I'm appreciative of being like, what the fuck am I doing? Of like, I'm enjoying the fact that I'm doing something that seems totally stupid and worthless. It's fun. Especially if you have a somewhat expansive definition of fun. Maybe I should just run down here. That seems like more fun. Whoa. How do we get down from here? Not exactly sure. Which way did I come up here? Is this getting boring? I'm like, you know, I'm like I'm starting to mentally return to normal town. Some crazy bird sounds though. See, I feel pretty normal. Doesn't this like from your point of view seem like, don't I seem pretty normal now? I'm a completely normal person. here I am, just like, you know, talking normally, walking normally, having normal person thoughts, normal emotions, doing very normal activity. You know, looking at things, feeling, being, you know, interesting myself in things. Maybe getting a sunburn. Very normal, complete, like, exceedingly normal. Am I going the right way? I don't know. The observatory's that way. Maybe I should be going that way. But is this gonna snake back around? I don't know. I'm gonna keep going this way. It's downhill. Path of least resistance. Oh, it's getting hotter again down here. Are you ready to go back to normal life? I hope so. This video is not going to continue forever. You're going to have to go back to normal life at some point. Actually, pretty soon. I think. Oh, we still got a little bit of time. We still got like, I think we got like 17 minutes. 17 minutes of exalted normality. "17 minutes of mediated normality." Why don't I take my shirt off again? And then just to remind myself to become a bodybuilder. They say you have to have like a strong physical form in order to transcend your physical body, right? Strong, healthy physical body in order to be able to transcend your material form. So, that's why I need to become a bodybuilder. Then I'll really be able to transcend my body. So it'll be really strong. Oh, shit. I don't know where this is taking me. This is just like normal thoughts. It seems all right. But something about the mediation of these normal thoughts seems to make them special somehow. Seems to make them like extra okay. Well, it's also about the communication. Like I feel communicative now in a fun way. Just like the fact that you're here, we're having fun together. We're just, we're at home in our bodies and to the extent that our identities exist, although we're not really stimulating our like concept of identity too much. A little bit, but we're comfortable with that. And now I think I recognize that I've passed by here on the way up. So I'm going in the right direction in order to get back to familiar territory. And looking forward to like correcting the disequilibriums now that I'm starting to notice in my body, like hunger. And I live in a land where it's very easy to it's very easy and very pleasurable to correct for the disequilibrium of hunger. And there's taco trucks all over the place. Barring the fate of the very unfortunate, but I think still even it's not terribly difficult to satisfy hunger, for food. I feel a lot of gratitude. Like it's kind of amazing that I can be here and be doing this. It's kind of think of all the things that had to happen to make this possible. All the conditions that had to exist. I feel extremely lucky. But as I say that, I also recognize that it's very possible and often the case that I am in the same the same objective scenario, but feeling completely ungrateful and miserable and feeling like I have a very terrible lot in life. And so, you know, those two perspectives come and go. But still, it is always something you can remind yourself of. What's up, Lizzies? I can't believe you're here either. It's amazing. It's amazing that you're willing to do this. And that this opportunity is even possible, of this type of communication. This form of communication. This form of communication seems to like be conducive. I mean, this medium of communication seems conducive to a form of communication that what the fuck? Oh my god, it's my biggest fear in the world. A huge centipede. Whoa. I hate centipedes as much as I love snakes. It's totally irrational. Oh my god. And just because I need to scare myself further, I want to see the thing move. Holy shit, that thing is horrifying. All right. Enough thrills for now. Those things give me the willies. See how normal I am? See how normal I am? Centipedes give me the willies. That's how normal I am. What was I talking about before that centipede? I guess it doesn't matter. I'm sure it was nothing important. Oh yeah, I was like, I was saying how this medium is conducive to a certain form of communication that feels kind of novel to me. It's like anybody could do this too. You don't need very much. It's almost time. It's almost time to go back to normal life. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. I'm gonna miss this. Maybe I won't. I'm saying that I'm enjoying this. I don't think I will. I won't miss it uncomplicatedly. And I won't, you know, I'll continue to experience normal life complicatedly. And then I'll at some point return to walking and talking and experience and like enjoy it complicatedly with all the joy and happiness and fun and misery and pain and suffering involved therein. So what do we do with the last few minutes before we part ways? Well, I'm distracted again by the people behind me. It's like, I can't help but start to like listen in on their conversation. But I apologize, let me stay focused on you. Thank you for coming along. Maybe I don't have to maybe I shouldn't thank you. Maybe that's excessive. Because maybe you're like, no, thank you. Or am I being presumptive? Anyways, you'll probably, you could also maybe be thankful once this is over. Yeah, it's not like a special thing to say at the end at all. I'll probably, if this were the beginning of the video, I'd be feeling like very dumb and self-critical about the things I'm saying right now, and like more painfully aware of my voice and image. But I think it's just about time. Wow, and I'm like, I've made it back to like exactly where I started. That's some pretty decent narrative symmetry. I'm gonna probably end it almost exactly where I started. Wait, is this where I started? I don't know. I just want to see another rattlesnake. All right. Thanks again. And I'll see you next time. All right. Bye.